College baseball is officially back. I am Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. We are here to talk everything that happened on opening weekend as all 14 SEC clubs took the field. Some good, some bad, some ugly mixed in. But the bottom line is this: college baseball is back, and what a great weekend it was. Harrison, what's going on, my man? Appreciate you taking the time.
Chris, how's it going? Great to be here. Excited for the season to be back. It's just, what better time than college baseball playing? Anything can happen, and, we just love watching it.
There was nothing better, Harrison, than cutting on the TV this weekend or actually going out to the yard. Obviously went out Saturday, Sunday. I was out there at Foley Field Saturday, which was an experience, by the way. We did those stadium rankings, and I almost felt kind of bad ranking Georgia as low as I did. But, then when you think about the other SEC venues and like the sheer magnitude of some of those other ones and how small Georgia is. But for those who have not been, it's not a bad ballpark at all. It's not like some rundown, crappy ballpark. It's just tiny. So had a good time out there in Athens watching the Dogs. And, of course, Sunday went to USC Upstate, watched a little Kentucky and Spartans, and Kentucky getting obviously the big sweep. But, guys, by the way, before we really get rolling, I want to tell you about our friends over at MyBookie, because this segment brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. I've been gambling with college basketball, getting some early stuff in with college football. We got win totals out there. Head to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code SECU. March Madness just around the corner. The tournament's upcoming. You're going to need a sports book to gamble with. And again, they've got everything you need, from props to spread to totals, whatever it is. Mybookie.ag. Promo code SECU. Up to $1,000 deposit match. 100% on your first deposit. Again, mybookie.ag. Promo code SECU. Again, Harrison, you look at the weekend. Let's start, man. Again, we're going to run through all of these. Biggest takeaway, did anything surprise you? Anything jump out to you? I think the big one was probably Ole Miss going down to Hawaii and splitting 2-2. Tennessee, obviously, the Shriners Classic as well, played a couple big games. But, outside of that, you had Arkansas lose a game. You had Hagen Smith get touched up a little bit in that first game. And what's funny, Harrison, is I thought about putting out this content today, but I did not do so. The content that is, hey, it's college baseball. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Do not overreact, right? Don't hit the panic button. It's literally 3 or 4 games out of 56. On the same side, some overreaction, some hot takes, some bold takes are good for content, right? So that's why we're here. But did anything jump out to you that surprised you, that was notable? Again, it was great to have college baseball back, but I thought for the SEC, pretty much par for the course over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a couple of notable things that stuck out to me was Arkansas. Like you said, Hagen Smith going kind of struggling, them being their frontline ace, being a high prospect draft guy. He threw 42 pitches in the first inning. It's just not something you kind of expect out of him. And that, Dave Van Horn, that probably kind of affects how he goes strategically, the rest of the weekend with his lineup. They also played, I think, 4 games this weekend. So that kind of, shifts things around. So, JMU's no slouch. They're no bad team. They've been kind of good in all sports, especially this year, So I just think I was looking for a little bit more out of them, especially how high we've been on them coming into the season and just the rankings and expectations for them. Is Arkansas back? Is that a question we can answer? And also,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you speak on Hagen Smith, and it's funny. I was watching that game and watched some of that series, a lot of that series, and dude, it was so cold in Fayetteville this week. It's like, that's another thing you have to factor in and I think that's what surprised me too, was seeing normally that's the reason the pitching is ahead of the hitting really early on in the season. Hitters haven't gotten their timing right. It's cold. The ball's not flying. Dude, we saw offense all over the SEC all week. And I know against some weaker pitching staffs, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look like to me that the hitting's behind the pitching in any way. And again, but I watched that Arkansas game and I'm like, it's freezing cold. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I think if you're hitting the panic button on Hagen Smith right now after one start, and it's funny, dude, even when we were doing the preview content going in the season, had Arkansas folks commenting saying, Hagen Smith throws too many pitches. He can't get out of the 6th inning. Like, for everything he is, that's what he can't do. And it's kind of ironic. I guess we saw that in the first weekend. But I certainly am not hitting any sort of panic button or worried. I recall a couple years ago, I don't know if it was 2019 or 2020, I remember Emerson Hancock got shelled in his first start. He gave up like 5 or 6 runs, and he turned out to be pretty good. So I mean, it happens, man. It happens early in the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't think you can't panic. You can't jump to conclusions week one. I think give it 2-3 weeks, before you make any kind of foundational conclusions. But like you said, yeah, I mean, it was definitely cold. I mean, Hawaii, I don't think Ole Miss had any excuse for that in Hawaii with the weather, but the travel probably kind of did take a little bit of toll. I mean, they were playing a lot of young guys too. So, but I mean,
I've got a lot of questions with Ole Miss, and I think that when you've got that many moving pieces, it's so portal heavy, right? I was able to watch them late Friday night. That game Friday got over at like 4:30 a.m. by the way, Eastern
it was
time.
over 5 hours. Yeah.
Right. So anybody who stayed up and watched that, God bless you. You truly are a college baseball diehard. But there was a reason, man. I was sort of low on Ole Miss coming in the season. I was higher on Mississippi State of the Mississippi schools, and that's a tough one, man. Splitting with Hawaii is not. It's not really the way you want to start the season, especially the way they lost the last game. Getting
Yep.
blown out.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, you win the first two and then you lose the second two pretty bad. I mean that opener going 13 innings definitely took a toll on them, I think, as well. A lot of walks. They had over 10 walks. A lot of errors in that game late. So I mean, it's just things that you don't want to happen, but if they're going to happen, you want them to happen early, so you make corrections. And Mike Bianco, he has all the talent. All the praise we give him to make those adjustments.
Harrison, probably the most inauspicious start of any SEC ball club, the Florida Gators. You lose one game, and then Mother Nature wipes out the two. It almost makes me, if we're talking about like just crazy overreactions to opening weekend, it feels like that maybe this isn't Florida's year. The baseball gods already aren't smiling on Florida. Again, it was a head-scratching opening day loss. First time Sully's lost on opening day, and I think over a decade, and only 2 times he's done that in Gainesville. So, I mean, I'm obviously, again, I prefaced it by saying it was an overreaction. It's not the reaction, but, dude, Florida, I mean, there is more pressure on the midweek than they probably ever expected there would be when you do not have a win in the win column yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Cade Fisher got rocked, by the way. Got rocked in that game.
Yep, that's what I was about to say. I mean, he did not look like what we expected out of him, to open this season for Florida. Like we said, the high expectations. But with that came a lot of walks for St. John's, and Johnny's came to play, But I mean, that's the thing. The midweek this season, I think this week's gonna be really important for them. We get to see maybe Cags this week. You never know. I mean, who's gonna start on the mound? Who's gonna kind of get some innings in? What kind of fire Sully's gonna let into that Gators team this year? So especially this week.
Dude, if I'm Sully, I'm throwing Cags tomorrow because he's got to get his pin in anyways. Like I just, why not? He's fresh.
Yeah, I mean,
he'll be ready to go by Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday guy.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be ready to go by Sunday. Like, why not?
Yeah,
either today or Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you want to throw him. Side note, by the way, you mentioned St. John's. How about the Johnnies? That's kind of the interesting thing early in the season, Harrison, is that, with these non-conference series, I don't want to say it's a lose-lose for SEC teams because it's not. A lot of good comes out of this early season stretch where, you're figuring out your best 9. You're figuring out what roles guys are in. A lot of teams are figuring out their Sunday guys. Some are figuring out their Saturday, Sunday guys. Some people are trying to find their closer, their setup guys, whoever it is. These first couple weeks go for that. But for the SEC teams, it's like if you win, you were supposed to win. And if you lose, the sky is falling. Like there's just not a lot of glory early on when you play teams like St. John's or Manhattan or Miami of Ohio, et cetera. So I don't know, man. It's just like we watch so intensely because we love college baseball, but it's an interesting vibe when it's like it's kind of like in football, Georgia playing I don't know, man,
Mercer,
Nichols or Mercer. Yeah, it's like what good comes of it. But I know baseball a little bit different, but I guess that's what makes it so much fun, man. As a team like St. John's can go in there and beat up on a Florida on a Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. There's talent all over the country these days. I mean, these mid-majors are no joke. You got East Carolina, you got all these kind of mid-majors, Dallas Baptist that are, legit contenders. Coastal, they won the championship in 2016. You can't take any games for granted. You got to come in with a plan, take care of business, and then, really get ready for the SEC is the biggest thing. But speaking of these teams coming in, FAU at Vanderbilt. I mean, talk about an electric series. I mean, question marks for Vanderbilt on the pitching side. Carter Holton got kind of hit around, and Grayson Carter also struggled to control a lot of walks. I mean, question marks on the pitching side, like we talk about they have all the tools and all the kind of guys to make a deep run like they always do every year. They're always in Omaha, and interesting start to the season for the Commodores.
And almost lost that series, right? Had to, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah,
walk it
easily
off
could
on
have.
Friday. And I also think FAU is a little bit better of a club than most of us probably gave credit.
FAU's good, definitely good this year.
And I'll tell you this, dude. Those Florida schools, like, there's so much talent in Florida that, like, I'm talking down to D2 and NAIA. Like,
Yep.
Florida
You
baseball
got Tampa, Central Florida College. Yep.
it's a different level. Nova Southeastern, it's a different level
Miami
down there.
Dade. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different level down there. So, yeah, FAU, that was a great series. I was talking about, SEC teams playing these lesser competition, these lesser opponents. A team who did not have to worry about that was the Tennessee Volunteers. What a weekend for them. I thought made a statement. I'm high on Tennessee. I picked them to win the SEC East. Love Tony Vitello, what he's doing. They beat Baylor in the series of the Shriners Classic cap, if you will, on Sunday night, 11-5. Lost to Oklahoma in that Saturday game. Tough game, 5-1. The Bats went cold. And, of course, won the first game in that Shriners Classic against Texas Tech. A good Texas Tech team, by the way, 6-2. I think the story from this one, Harrison, I mean, we can talk about A.J. Russell on Friday. We can talk some Drew Beam on Saturday.
Yeah.
Dude, Billy Amick is a stud. He's a freak. And, again, another overreaction. You could argue Billy Amick should be the favorite to win the Golden Spikes. That's an overreaction, but that dude is a stud.
Not that hard to take, though.
He's a certified stud.
Yeah, no, and like you said, Tony Vitello just got the balls in the right direction. Fantastic coach, fantastic leader. You hear all the great things about him. He's really turned this Tennessee program around. That going back to that Oklahoma loss, I really don't think it was that bad. Bats got a little cold, but they went in extras, ended up losing 5-1-10. You can't really complain with that. Most games you give up one run, you're going to win. You expect to win, But like you said, both the AJs in game one, AJ Russell, AJ Causey transferred from Jack State, 17 Ks of the 27 outs in that game were strikeouts. You only needed those two guys.
Dude, and with Tennessee, man, it's just they throw gas on the mound and they hit bombs. It's just that's the club that Tony Vitello has built. Speaking of throwing gas on the mound and pitching the baseball brilliantly, how about South Carolina's pitching staff? That was another big storyline. Ho-hum took care of business first 2 days. I thought 5-1 on opening day. Got a big win on Saturday. The Bats sort of awoken. Ethan Petrie came alive with 2 homers, but how about yesterday? A no-hitter, a combined no-hitter at least. Combined no-no.
The 8th in program history.
Yes, the 8th in program history. And Roman Kimball, which I think was a really, really great sign for South Carolina. He was electric. They get him rolling. I think Roman Kimball's a guy, you start him out in this. And I know Matthew Becker probably going to come back. He had a little bit of an injury. But I tell you, man, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but of all the guys in that weekend rotation or guys that they were talking about weekend rotation, Roman Kimball, I would not be surprised to see him move to the Friday role. He has probably the most electric stuff of any of those guys.
Yeah. No, yeah, I could definitely see that. And that was the question we kind of had in for South Carolina was the pitching side. We knew the lineup was going to be stacked, a lot of bats, a lot of noise, led by Ethan Petrie and Cole Messina, 2 All-Americans preseason. That was the question coming in. It's looked so far so good on the pitching side, and they kind of dominated this week in pitching.
Yeah. Especially when you throw a no-hitter. Again, it's dominant. I think South Carolina took care of business. They've got Winthrop, Queens, your typical midweeks. I think they'll continue to roll, man, because, again, they've got the sticks to beat anybody on a night-in, night-out basis. The question was pitching, and, they passed the test. How about the new coaches, by the way, Harrison, in the SEC? I'm drawing a blank. Wes Johnson.
Rob Vaughn.
Yeah, Rob Vaughn at Bama. Wes Johnson at Georgia, and Carrick Jackson at Mizzou. Pretty successful weekend for the new guys. I got to be honest with you, Harrison. It's probably not good that I admit this, but I don't know why, whether it was just my social media feed specifically or the games I was cutting on or whatever it was. I feel like most every single SEC school, I caught a little bit of their series. Didn't watch all of it, caught a little bit. I did not watch a second of Alabama. If you told me Alabama did not play baseball, I would have believed you. And those who are fans of the Crimson Tide hear me say that. It's nothing personal. That's just kind of how it happened. But I thought Bama quietly really impressive start to the Rob Vaughn era. Again, we're not going to know, right, until we get deeper into the season, we get to conference play, et cetera. But, starting out with 3 wins, all the question marks that Bama had coming from a new era or coming into a new era. And, I thought they dominated basically start to finish. All the new coaches, though, really successful with Georgia, Bama getting sweeps. And Kerrick Jackson going out there and taking on Cal Poly and winning 2 out of 3.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, speaking of Alabama, Manhattan, not, your SEC opponent, but, like you said, you go in, you take care of business, start the new era under Rob Vaughn strong. Ben Hess, 9 Ks and just over 4 innings, I believe. And, back-to-back shutouts over the season. That's what you look for, and kind of can't get any better than that, But Kerrick Jackson, you go on the road to Cal Poly. Didn't expect him to drop game 1, but, I think it was a good weekend for them to build off of, and good for him to start his tenure there. So looking to see what they kind of do. We don't really have them too high, kind of bottom half of the SEC this season, but, never know. It's college baseball.
Not to be a Debbie Downer, Harrison, but watching Mizzou, and I'm happy they won 2 or 3. I was sitting there watching like, man, I'm worried about Missouri this year. Like it's going to be pretty brutal in SEC play. Like every year, maybe not every year, but most years there's that team that goes 6-24, 8-22, or I think that's going to be that. Like maybe not, but I was watching them against Cal Poly, just thinking like, man, like this is probably going to be a rough year. But there's a reason you hired a new head coach, and to your point, somebody's got to finish last. I wonder, going back to Ole Miss, I wonder if it's going to be them. I hope it's not the Rebels, but again, rocky start to get it going. Outside of that, speaking of Ole Miss, Mississippi State, they win 2 out of 3. Boy, there was not a coach, in my opinion, Harrison, out there who needed to win 2 out of 3, go into a rubber match more than Chris Lemonis. Because if things go south early for him, that fan base is going to turn. They're going to turn in a heartbeat, and they are going to be calling for his job, I think. They end up beating Air Force 10-2 in that Sunday game, by the way. So it wasn't even remotely close after a while, but was close early. Thought maybe it got a little hairy there for a second, but Mississippi State gets it done. How about Hunter Hines, right? Hunter Hines hitting the big bomb there, I think in game 2 it was.
Yeah. Dakota Jordan too, 2 home runs.
Dakota Jordan was fantastic. So, but here's the thing. Here's the issue, Harrison, with Mississippi State. What killed them in the game they lost? The bullpen. Those strikes. That is exactly what killed them last year. Like, you better get that ironed out now. You better get those kinks out. You carry that in SEC play, you have literally no chance.
Yeah, late game walks are crucial and just will kill you in any game, let alone the SEC, Like you said, I think Lemonis, just big season for him, hot seat for maybe both Mississippi coaches, it's crazy to think where they are now after winning 2 national championships, respectively each year in like past 3-4 years. It's just crazy to see the change and transition. But that's the SEC. Anything can happen. They set a opening day attendance record this season. So it was a cold day at Starkville. So
there were a lot of teams out there that set opening day records. I was actually really impressed. Talking about grow the game, # grow the game. The game is growing, my friend. The game is growing. There were a lot of packed out venues this weekend. Alex Box was no different, by the way. The LSU Tigers got a big sweep. They're actually playing, I think, right now.
They're playing Central Arkansas, yep.
And that game is much, much closer than what they experienced over the weekend. But it does look like, LSU is going to move to, and they did. Okay, I think they got the win, 4-3. Beat Central Arkansas 4-3. Arkansas beat James Madison 4-0. And again, Mizzou Cal Poly was canceled. So LSU, how about this? They scored 27 runs, I believe it was. Let's see.
Yeah, I got a note for you.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the stat? Throw a stat at me.
Yeah, I got a stat for you. Let me feed you right here. 27 runs on 27 hits ties a program single game record in LSU history for most hits in a game. They were 2 runs shy of program record with 29 runs in the game, which they did against Georgia Tech in 1996 regional at the original Alex Box game. So, I don't think the offense is the question there at all, but I think the question is the pitching. Thatcher Hurd.
Yeah, and that again, he was rough, but it's like, okay, a number of aces were rough. So it's like, I think Thatcher Hurd's probably going to bounce back, but I mean, we know the big questions: who's going to fill in for Paul Skeens, who's going to be that next dude for LSU? Because I mean, they are like many teams in the SEC where it's like, bro, they got sticks, they got guys up and down the lineup. Will they pitch enough to win? That's what it comes down to. Will they throw enough strikes? Will they come up in the big moments? Everybody throws hard, right? Nobody doesn't throw hard. So, but LSU, I mean, my goodness, Bear Jones hit another home run today. It seems like every time you cut on the game, Bear Jones is hitting a home run. Hayden Travinsky was great. So, I mean, I just successful weekend, I think, for the defending national champions looking to go back to back.
Yeah,
did we miss?
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah,
the Thatcher struggled. We've had a couple aces struggle. I mean, not worried. Like you said, Emerson Hancock the other year kind of slow out the gates. So I'm not really worried about that. But Luke Coleman, just over 5 innings, 10 Ks. I mean, 3 hits. I mean, that's what you want out of him, and that's going to be awesome if you can have him do that every single weekend.
I think the only ones we didn't mention, by the way, I was about to say, did we miss anybody? Texas A&M. A&M. A&M was impressive. A&M was a lot of bubbles this weekend, a lot of ball 5 chance. It was great to see college baseball back in Aggie land. And, dude, Braden Montgomery, first game goes yard. He's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be very, very fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of bubbles. Ball 5 chant was Jace Lavalette, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah. Apologies if not. Ball 5 chant hits a absolute long shot over center field. I mean, it was a nuke. I mean, Braden Montgomery both looked incredible at opening week. Just kind of as we expected. I mean, Jace, one of the perennial outfitters in the SEC, let alone the nation. Braden Montgomery, the 2-way transfer from Stanford. I mean, they both looked great, just as we expected, and love to see that.
And then finally, Harrison, the Auburn Tigers. I mean, again, this was another one where I admittedly the most noteworthy thing that I saw a weekend from Auburn was their all navy blue uniforms, which that was the most interacted with post about Auburn baseball that we posted all weekend long, which asking people to rate the uniforms 1 to 10. I'm still kind of just on the fence with those. I don't know if I love them. That, great college baseball uniform, I guess. I don't want to see the Atlanta Braves trot out there in some all navies. But for Auburn, I think it works. Good news is they worked really well on the field, though. Got the sweep. Ike Irish was great for them. So, I mean, I think a success weekend. Did you get to watch any of Jacob Gonzalez's – I think it's Jacob, right? Or am I – I feel like I always mess his name up. I'm pulling it up here. 6-1 the Saturday game. They won that Saturday game. Let's see, because I think Gonzalez was the biggest question for them coming into the season. Yeah, he went 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So, I mean, dude, if they can – no earned runs in that game, by the way. If they can get the best version of him, he was electric a couple years ago. I think that's going to be a huge boost for Auburn. But I'm all in on Butch Thompson, man. I'm all in on Auburn this year. I think we sleep on them every single year. I think they're going to be really, really good. I don't even know how, right? I'm not saying they're loaded with superstars, but it's just Butch Thompson, man. He just finds a way every year. So, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised when it happens again.
Yeah, like you said, Ike Irish kind of leading the way on the hitting side. I mean, game 1, they won 17-6. I mean, that's exactly what the Auburn fans want to look for, what Butch is looking for at an opening day. I mean, you can't get better than that. I mean, Ike Irish leading the way, 4 for 5, 4 RBIs. I mean, he's going to be definitely leading that clubhouse for sure, and the leader in the team.
So, Harrison, when you look at the rest of college baseball, most impressive performances, whether it be on the bump, swinging the stick, most impressive team. Again, it can be SEC, it can be not SEC, the entire college baseball landscape. What stuck out to you the most, individual players and team-wise?
All right, what stuck out to me the most is undoubtedly East Carolina's Parker Bird. I mean, the first player in NCAA history in Division I to play on a prosthetic leg. I mean, after 22 surgeries, 18 months after losing his leg in a boating accident, have to be amputated. I mean, definitely the most. I mean, you can say comeback player of the year already. I mean, put him in the Emmys. I'm so for it. I'm all about it. And just that moment was just so special for him and his family. I think that for me was best moment of the weekend.
That was a great moment. And to your point, I don't know that anything can top that. Probably the worst take I've ever seen in my life, by the way, was some guy. I don't remember who it was, but I don't know if he's an East Carolina guy or I don't even know who he is. Not a huge account, but some guy going with the take that it wasn't a great moment and almost like it was a publicity stunt. And don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Probably the worst take we'll have all season. Um, my nominee for best moment, Mike Martin passes away a couple weeks ago. Florida State opening day wins 11-0. Mike Martin, of course, wore number 11 at FSU. That felt poetic in a way. That really felt poetic. And what a year it'd be, right? I mean, he couldn't get it done. Well, I say he couldn't get it done. They could not get it done while he was there winning a national title. How fitting would it be if FSU just gets to Omaha? The Mike Martin stories and that storyline. And I think America will be pulling for Florida State if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, just one of those legendary names of Florida State history. Definitely on the ball field for sure. And just that'd be special and just very, very cool to see. I think for all baseball fans, whether you're a Florida State fan or not, maybe if you're a Gator fan, you wouldn't be rooting for that, but I'm here for it.
I think we're all here for it as well. Also, what stood out to me, Harrison, the amount of crazy catches we had. I don't know if it was if it's because I'm just more locked into around the entire SEC, but it just felt like every time I looked up, somebody was making some crazy web gem, some crazy catch. I mean, it went all the way into yesterday. You had Charlie Condon go over the wall at Foley Field and make it like a Derek Jeter style catch. You had diving catches in the outfield. I don't know. I mean, I guess the athletes are just getting better. The players are getting better. The speed, I don't know, man. But it just, I don't know if it's just me. It just felt like every 5 seconds there was a great catch happening. So
yeah, and that's just adds to the thrill of opening weekend, But speaking of Charlie Condon, did you see he played third base, first base, and left field this weekend?
Did he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely.
I saw he was at first and third because he was at first on the Saturday game when I went there, and then of course he was at third yesterday when he made that catch. I did not know he played outfield. So
yeah. But speaking of web gems, I think Coastal Carolina might have led the nation in web gems this weekend. I mean, I saw 2 or 3 that were just phenomenal catches. San Diego had a kid with no regard for his body diving into the wall and making a sweet grab. I mean, you love to see it, especially if you're a pitcher of the mound. I mean, back when I was pitching my days, it's just you tip your cap, you buy that guy dinner tomorrow night.
Speaking of San Diego, they're not in the SEC yet, but Texas, I ain't going to lie to you, man. I put a couple futures bets down on College World Series champions. I put one on Texas. I think it might be Hook'em this year. That was a fun series. San Diego's very good, by the way. That was a very fun series. I love seeing the back and forth that SEC fans have with Texas. There's going to be kind of some butting heads, if you will, with Texas and Oklahoma, but especially Texas because, the Hook'em stuff and the horns down stuff and just what Texas is as a brand. We threw out there, the ballpark venue rankings, very popular.
I was about to say that, yep.
People love to debate that stuff. And so I grabbed a video from our good buddy, Occupy Left Field. Awesome dude. I can't wait to meet him in person and go to a Texas game. Threw up the video. How would you rank it? And I mean, dude, people are still they're going crazy with this thing. Trashing Dish Falk, which, I think it's a nice feel. But where does it rank?
Where do you rank it?
It'd probably be middle of the pack. It wouldn't be bottom of the SEC for sure. I think it'd be middle of the pack. I really feel like that top tier of SEC venues, man, it's just like they're untouchable. Like the dude's untouchable. Baumwalker's untouchable.
I think you got to rank Tennessee and Lindsey Nelson a little higher. I really do. I mean, that place has just turned into a jungle, honestly.
Well, after the renovations, it will be higher.
Yep.
After the renovations. Because I went to Lindsey Nelson in 2022, and Lindsey Nelson was another one like Foley Field, to where
you're on top of it.
Well, yeah, but it's not like they're bad ballparks. They're not. They're just college baseball fields. And I say that, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" But you look at Founders Park, you look at the Dude, these are like professional venues. These are not, Lindsey Nelson Stadium was a really nice ballpark 20 years ago when college baseball was just college baseball, and it wasn't nearly as popular as it is now. And obviously we're happy that it is, but that's why it ranks so low, is because it's become this arms race. And Lindsey Nelson, when I went, it was very tiny and it was very old. And, obviously they're putting money into it now, what Tony B. And it really speaks to, man, even more so what Tony V has done, because it's not like he's had the greatest facilities to recruit to, and he's still gotten the guys, and now he's going to get better facilities. Dude, Vandy's upgrade. I was watching the Vandy game. They showed their upgrades. It's going to be crazy at Vandy too. So,
all right, I got to say, I haven't been to Lindsey Nelson, but I have been to Vanderbilt Stadium. I went back in 2022. I've been to Vandy, Mississippi State. I mean, Foley Field, I like it. I like how you feel on top of it. I definitely think Lindsey Nelson is way above Foley Field and way above Vanderbilt Stadium, which I don't know the name of off the top of my head.
Hawkins Field.
Hawkins Stadium, yep. It's right. You're literally underneath a football stadium, which is kind of weird. It just there's not that many students there. It doesn't feel like, like Lindsey Nelson has a huge student section. I mean, it's way different. It's night and day.
I mean, I've never been to Hawkins either, but it just looks tiny. I will go. So the plan is going to try to catch as many of these, go to as many of these SEC venues as I possibly can. Probably going to save a lot of the good ones for SEC play, because as much fun as like going to Georgia was, in the non-conference, it's, also it's very cold, but non-conference is kind of hit or miss, but very excited. That one's going to be certainly on the list of games and series that we go to. Harrison,
I've got more to check off, but I'll go with you. Definitely several of these for sure.
Dude, let's go. Let's do
it.
Harrison, college baseball's back, man. Congratulations to you, everybody else. I'm ecstatic. It's going to be fun to continue to follow this along. We're going to do this weekly, talking all things, giving just sort of a weekend recap, obviously. Looking back on the weekend that was, and dude, it's only going to get better from here, man, as we start getting into midweek action and learning more about these ball clubs. And, of course, the following weekend series, navigating through non-conference play. We'll have some really fun non-conference series upcoming. Of course, we all know about Carolina-Clemson, one of the best rivalries, if not the best rivalry in college baseball. Some other great rivalries that take place. We've also got tournament action upcoming. I think there's one in Jacksonville this weekend.
Yep.
That I think it's or maybe Round Rocks in Texas, but there's another one in Texas. Yeah, there's another one in Jacksonville. I think Auburn's in a tournament. Kentucky's in a tournament. So yeah, we'll start to learn a lot more about these SEC ball clubs over the next couple of weeks. But Harrison, I appreciate you, man. It's always a good time, always a pleasure. Looking forward to doing this all season, man.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm stoked for it. It's going to be great to do this all season. College baseball's back. You can't get any more excited. It's warming up. Weather's getting a little warmer, some places, maybe not Hawaii weather yet, but we're stoked for that, stoked for baseball to be back. And, shout out to all those who celebrate and watch the game and grow the game.
That being said, guys, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Harrison Fant. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, check us out via podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out SECUnfiltered.com, and you can find us all across social media as well. Until next time, guys, appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.